FP1, FP2, and an FP3. Then flips it, doesn't he, to this really skinny wing, which is more difficult to drive. It means he's slower in the corners, but he just goes right, bang it on, and was brilliant. I mean, 20 seconds ahead of the rest. What did you learn that you didn't know already about Max Verstappen this weekend?
So Max Verstappen, top 5 driver of all time in the history of our sport, and he keeps on showing that, which is amazing. And my list is Hamilton, Verstappen, Senna, Fangio, and that's it, right? Schumacher.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the list. It starts to get a pretty easy list where most people will agree with that, I think. And his car wasn't the best car this weekend. I'm pretty sure of that. What I learned about Max Verstappen is that he's also now becoming, or has been, I don't know, so smart on that he actually does such fundamental setup decision. That's also a new facet which I hadn't seen so often yet, and that's impressive because that's probably one of the key ingredients to the win this weekend was his determination to push through his view on the setup, which was we need to take more wing off. And rear wing, the simulation tells you where the optimum wing is. So the simulation, and all engineers follow simulation. So the whole engineers will see the simulation saying, no, Max, you need to run more wing than that. And Max is like, no, I want less wing than that. And he got his way, and he puts it on pole with a magical lap, or 2 magical laps. I mean, it's just unbelievable, just perfection. And then dominates the race with speed, which is really awesome. It's not 20 seconds like you say, Simon, because McLaren were rolling the dice and took a really, really horrible strategy in terms of fastest way to get from A to B. It was around 6, or what was it there before all
those? It was
those...
a quicker car, what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was like 5-6 seconds or what between Verstappen and the McLarens, but still, nevertheless, it's just an awesome pace that he showed there in the race. So incredible.
Just to come back to you, Nico, because I remember, where was it that you were talking about where you could really see which race?
Oh, it was Barcelona where I was watching him from the outside.
You were just watching him and just controlling the rear of the car and saying it's absolutely peerless. You've got to do that with the long radius corner like parabolic. He's got to be able, doesn't he, to be able to not trash his tires as well. And he managed to, he got some blistering. But it was still, as you said, the quickest car, even though it was sliding around more in the corners.
I would say the quickest driver, not the quickest car. I think he really did a phenomenal job, and he's just driving that. He has that tiny edge on everybody else. It's just he's that extra sensitivity, extra speed of reacting, just to balance that car magically just on that tiny edge is just incredible.
Is the other thing to coincide with this that, and you mentioned it, Nico, about Max pushing Red Bull in a setup direction to combat that skinny rear wing. He asked for more front end. Now we know Max can live with that, a really responsive front end, and I'll deal with the rear. And he found a way to balance it, to make it suit what he can cope with and what he would like as a driver. And Red Bull responded, positively towards him. Now that Laurent Mekies is in charge, they have a man with an engineering background as their team principal, who probably better understands the engineering demands of what his drivers are telling him than Christian Horner did, who was a racing driver in his career. And I think that Mekies Verstappen partnership took a huge step forward as well. And the team principal kind of went into bat with the engineers and said, look, I know your simulations say one thing, but I think we can make this work with what Max is saying, so let's give it a go. And to me, there was a lot of hope for Red Bull for the future out of this, and the future this season too. And that, maybe Max now has, not that he didn't have faith beforehand, but a lot of faith in Laurent Mekies, that he's a team principal that will listen to what he's saying, and he's been very critical of this car. 12 months ago, this was a monster of...
On these cases, you kind of rely on the team. But these things happen, and it was also in a tricky moment because with all the red flags, everybody was in such a rush to get out to do some laps. So, it's a combination of things. It's not something you want, but these things happen. Leclerc eventually finished 9th in that session, but he had a positive opening practice, recording the second quickest time, leaving him upbeat for the weekend. Good FP1, very difficult FP2, he added. It's been just a very messy FP2 with the traffic and with the red flags and with the pit lane incident. So, lots of things going on which haven't been very positive, but we'll reset and come back stronger. I think the pace is in the car, so that's a good thing. There is also promise in the sister Ferrari, as Lewis Hamilton was 4th in opening practice before finishing 10th in FP2, though was top at stages in the second outing. It's generally been a good day, said Hamilton, who, like Leclerc, awaits his first Grand Prix win of the year. Things going on which haven't been very positive, but will reset and come back stronger. I think the pace is in the car, so that's a good thing. Ferrari's mixed Friday. Positives to build on the Scuderia did at least show flashes of competitiveness. Lewis Hamilton, in the sister car, was 4th in FP1 before finishing 10th in FP2, having at one stage topped the timing screens during the stop-start session. It's generally been a good day, Hamilton said afterwards. I felt like we made steps forward today, so I feel like overnight, we probably won't change much. But, of course, trying to refine the setup and see if we can extract a little bit more to get as close as we can to the McLarens. With McLaren setting the pace in FP2, the day's most relevant session, the Marina Bay weekend is already shaping up as a tight battle. For Ferrari, however, the focus is first on ironing out the confusion that sparked Friday's most bizarre moment. It pointed to miscommunication and the tricky timing of the restart as the root cause. It was a bit of confusion with the two McLarens going out, Leclerc said. It looked like they were going out at the same time. So his mechanic, thought that they would go out a bit slow, and so I didn't have the message to stop. On these cases, you kind of rely on the team. But these things happen, and it was also in a tricky moment because with all the red flags, everybody was in such a rush to get out to do some laps. So, it's a combination of things. It's not something you want, but these things happen. Leclerc eventually placed 9th on the timesheets in FP2 but had earlier impressed with 2nd place in FP1, leaving him convinced that Ferrari's outright pace is strong enough to recover. Good FP1, very difficult FP2. He reflected. It's been just a very messy FP2 with the traffic and with the red flags and with the pit lane incident. So lots of things. Leclerc explains his pit lane collision with Norris. Ferrari's Charles Leclerc was P2 in first practice in Singapore, and P9 in FP2, when he also had an unfortunate clash with Lando Norris in the pit lane. Charles Leclerc outlines pit lane confusion that caused FP2 crash with Lando Norris. Leclerc's collision with Norris was the key talking point of his Friday practice day in Singapore. Charles Leclerc reckons a misjudgment from his Ferrari team was behind the collision with Lando Norris late on in second practice at the Formula One Singapore Grand Prix. Ferrari released Leclerc into the pathway of Norris down the pit lane, causing the Monegasque to drive into the McLaren, which subsequently lost its front wing as it then collided with the wall. This came in the final 20 minutes of a twice red-flagged FP2, with the collision occurring at the second restart in which lots of cars were trying to leave at once due to the limited running. That